Hey guys, we are going to be off and running today. So we'll go through the notes. We're going to start chapter 7, and the first section is on zero and negative exponents and their properties. Now, you're at a slight disadvantage because you haven't gotten the new notes packet yet. So I'm hoping that you can kind of follow along on your own. But if you go to my website, I have attached a blank copy of the notes so that if you want to print it off and follow along, you can. But tomorrow, when I see you in person, you'll be able to get the notes packet from me for the next couple of chapters. So that's the plan anyway. Now, as I said today, we're going to pick off right where we left off and pick up right where we left off. And we're going to start in chapter 7. So I hope you guys are ready to go. We're going to start, as I said, with rules for zero and negative exponents. And there is a review problem here. I'm probably going to skip that for today and kind of just start going through the notes. So if you want to just follow along, and I know it's not super exciting, but that's how it is when we're hybrid, okay? So I'll just kind of go through these, and like I said, if you want to pause it and go to my website and print off the notes, you can. Or you can just kind of jot down some things on a piece of paper that if you want to remember those as we get going here, okay? So, ready or not, here we go. We're going to start just kind of looking here and talking about some of the properties that we'll be doing in this section. So, let me get my pen going here. I've got that ready. So we have here for every non-zero number, this is just kind of that first basic property to remember with exponents, and you may have already learned this previously, but anytime you have a number to the zero power, it is always going to equal 1. So that's kind of like just a general property that always is true. It doesn't matter what the value is. If it's to the zero power, it's always going to equal 1, okay? The other thing I want to talk about is when you have a negative exponent. And so this example right here lets us see that when we have a negative exponent, for example, a to the negative n power, we would basically flip it, so take the reciprocal, and when we do that and put it over 1, the negative goes away. So in other words, when the exponent is negative, you take the reciprocal, and then you have a positive exponent at that point. So let's look at some examples here. And then we'll do a couple of problems also. So here it says, what is the simplified form of each expression? So the first one is to the zero power. So we know it has to equal 1. Obviously, I didn't give you a ton of those types of problems because they're all going to equal 1 anyway. The next part here, though, is when you have a negative exponent. So here you can see 9 to the negative 2. We would flip it, so take the reciprocal, and we would then write it as 1 over 9 squared. Now, generally, when we're working with exponents like this, if your exponent is less than 5, I want you to go ahead and simplify it all the way. If your exponent is 5 or greater, then we would just leave it in exponent form, okay? So since 9 squared, since the 2 is less than 5, we would go ahead and simplify it to 1 over 81, okay? Now, these problems can get a little more complex, so we're going to also look at a example here that's more complex and uses different properties. So here we have a problem where we can see we have 7b to the negative third, and then all of that is over a squared. And we want to simplify our answer and write it using only positive exponents. So, kind of think of this in steps. The first step is they kind of split the problem apart with kind of putting that negative part to the side. So the 7 over a squared, we would leave that, and then we would break apart the b to the negative third, because that's the piece that we're going to have to take the reciprocal of. You only take the reciprocal of the value that's directly with the negative exponent. So the 7 and the a squared are not related to the negative exponent, so you leave them the way they are, okay? Then we would just take the reciprocal of b to the negative third, so we would flip that, and then we would go ahead and simplify that and rewrite it as one expression or one term. So 7 over a squared, then b to the third would be how we would simplify and write that out, okay? So there is kind of our first example. I'm going to stop the video here, and then if you guys could pick up on the next video, we'll do some practice problems and fill in the chart here, okay? See you in just a second.